Hello everybody, it's Rachel here at Clarty Hands Crafts. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a crisscross card to use as a piece of ephemera in a junk journal. I've just been having a little giggle to myself because I've been watching Rita Jensen's video. She mentioned me and she mentioned the fact that she didn't know how to pronounce my business name. It is Clarty Hands, and the art in Clarty is how you would pronounce art as in an art gallery. I hope that helps, but thank you very much for including me in your video. I am from the northeast of England, which makes my accent a little bit mixed, so sorry about that. Okay, so getting on with the video. Today I am using two pieces of A4 card and I'm cutting them down to size. The card is 160 GSM, and what I am doing is cutting them to, I believe it was 7 by 10 inches that I made this one. So each of them had to be 10 by 7 inches because they both need to be the same size for this to work. If I remember rightly, I realised that I'd done 6.5 instead of 7 inches. So I'm just cutting them down to match. Each piece needs to be scored vertically at the halfway point. Here I'm just shaving a little bit extra off to make sure that one fits inside the other. Next you need to cut a piece from the halfway point at the top down to the corner on the diagonal. And you'll do this with both pieces, but we want to do opposite sides for each piece. So this one I have done the right hand side, and on the next one I'll do the left hand side. Then when it folds over it will make a diagonal kind of pocket. So this time we're going from the centre point down to the bottom left corner. Give those creases a good fold over and squash down with a bone folder or something similar to make sure that they fold nicely. Make sure everything is lining up as well. And if there's any overlap, such as you can see here, you can just trim that down. And I just needed to take about a 1/16 of an inch off the edge there to make sure it lines up. So one goes inside the other. For this next part I used a child's plate to draw around, and I was just cutting out a circular, a curved notch at the top, and I wanted it to be larger than I would normally do with just a small circle punch, so I used a plate for it. So this needs to be done on the piece which is going to be the top of the overlap, because this will be the part that makes it easy to get your journal card out of the back, which you'll see what I mean as we go along. So I've just cut that with a pair of scissors, and there you can see it makes a pocket at the back once it's glued down. So that's the skeleton of your card or of your piece of ephemera. I'm inking all of the edges inside and out, apart from the back panel because that's going to be stuck inside my journal. If you're doing this as a pull out, then you'll need to ink that as well, just to make sure that it all ties together. So I find it easier to ink before I stick it all together, because then I just know that it's been done more thoroughly. Now it's time to glue the back panels together. So the one with the circular cutout gets put on top. That can be glued down onto the other one. So I glue 3 edges to make sure that the top is open for inserting a journal card. Make sure you get them nice and lined up. And then I found that this corner was just squashing things up, so I just cut the edge off. So now it's time to decorate, and I'm using some nice Christmas themed papers because this will be going inside my Christmas journal, and you can use the pieces that you cut off of the triangular pieces to be a template, so you can use them as a template, and you can just cut them down so that they fit. I like to leave a border, so I've cut them to a size which will leave a small border, and then I'm just using that as a template to use with decorative paper rather. Sorry, my words are getting jumbled up and I keep re-recording. I'm getting tired now. So this piece was already folded and I realised that I could cut two at a time. So that's what I did. Once I cut those pieces down, I inked them off camera. I don't think I've done them at this point, but I was just playing around and checking that they were going to be the right size. It's always worth checking before you do any gluing. But before I do glue them down, I decided that I wanted to have a tie closure, and I used a piece of ribbon, cut it to a length which would be suitable for tying it in a bow, and then I glued it behind those decorative panels. This particular ribbon had a couple of dirty spots, so I was very careful in the way that I arranged them to make sure that the dirty parts were either cut off or covered under something else. It's just where it had tape on. You know when you get that gummy part of sellotape and it just leaves a mucky residue on it. So I made sure that was hidden. When cutting the ends of ribbon, I always cut it at a diagonal, but I really don't mind if it frays because I just think it adds an extra element of texture to the project. So to make sure it lies still while I glue the triangle on top, I just used a piece of tape runner just to hold it in place. So that wasn't designed to do any major sticking because it'll get stuck down properly when I add the tacky glue. But using a small amount can just hold everything in place and stop them from getting stuck on other things while you're working. Plenty of glue on those front panels. And already you can see it starting to come together. So I'm just tying this a little bit to test out how it looks. Once I was happy with that, it was time to add some lace. So I wanted to decorate with some extra textures, so I got this piece of cotton lace. And I roughly trimmed it to the size and glued it into position. You can decorate these however you like, but I just thought I'd show you the process behind how I did it. So I started with a fairly small amount of glue, and then I went back later on and added some touch-ups to make sure that it was well stuck. I wanted to add some extra detail in the bottom, so I found this little gingerbread man and a piece of old doily. I always find these doilies a bit hard to play with because they're so delicate. So when I've got a few together like this, I tend to cut it down to size first and then I'll separate it out the separate layers. It's so easy to actually tear the lacy bits. So I'm just trimming it to fit in that corner, but I did want to leave the border of cream that's already there. So I stuck that down, then that just adds a bit more interest around the gingerbread man. Did decide to ink him as well to give him some more dimension. Once the gingerbread man was stuck down, it was time to trim down that cotton lace. I like to wait to do my trimming until the glue is dried a bit to make sure that there is a good bond between the fabric and the paper. When you find it difficult to trim, sometimes it's a good idea to turn things upside down and then you can get a closer angle. Next I'm going to create a mat for the inside. So I wanted it to be a bolder colour than the plain cream, so I chose a red design paper to make that with. So here I'm just measuring the inside. You can do it to whatever size your card has ended up. And I'm going to use this red with fern leaves, I suppose that's what it is. And I'm just going to cut that down to the size. Now I'm just doing a rectangular shape at the moment, and then I will cut that circular divot in the top afterwards. So I made another circular gap using my plate again. So first I lined it up with the corners so that it would match the original, and then I took it about a few millimeters or an eighth of an inch or something like that, and just drew a parallel line to the curved one. So you could probably do that just by hand, but the way that I had the plate rather, it just made it easier to sort of rest on it and do a more smooth curved line. That gets inked as well, and then layered on top of the back panel. And then my idea would be to have a photograph that is revealed once you open up those front flaps, or you could have some journaling in there. You could also seal those front flaps as well at the bottom to create a triangle pocket as well as the circular pocket. So here I'm just sticking down that lace, making it a bit more secure. And now I'm making a journal card to go in the back. So you can make it any size you like, but just make sure that it fits and slides in quite easily. This was quite light card, so it was having trouble pushing itself in, but I doubled up the card by adding a design card on top. I always like to round the corners of journal cards. It just gives them a more finished look. And this is the design card that I'm putting on top. And that will just make it a bit more sturdy to be pushed inside the pocket. They can be inked up to match. I will link some of the paper products down below that I've included in this video, that are included in my Christmas journal rather, and you can see those if you like the look of them. So I patterned one side of the journal card and left the other side just plain, so that it can be used for writing space. Then I wanted to use that same ribbon to make a little pull for the journal card. So just a blob of glue on the front and a blob of glue on the back. You could do some sort of fancy stitching over that, or hide the little glue dot with an embellishment of some sort. But it didn't really show up too badly, so I've just left it for the time being. I might come back to that and try and cover up that glue spot. So there you have it, you're able to tie it up now. Once everything's dry, the tricky part is to make a bow that's nice and even. I always struggle with this. But at the end you'll have something that looks like this, and then that can be stuck inside your journal. Or you can just use it as a pull out, that can go inside a pocket. And you can do these in any size, as long as the two pieces that you use are the same size, and you always go by the halfway mark for the fold. So here are some signatures I'm working on at the moment, just to show you how that I'm going to put that in. It's just going to be stuck straight down onto the whole page. Because this is quite a firm piece now, you need plenty of glue to stick it down. I did go back over at the end and put some extra glue in the corner sections to make sure that it would curve round with the rest of the book and not start to peel off. So thank you very much for watching today's video. I'll be back on Friday for another one, and I just wanted to apologise for my voice as well. If I sound a bit strange, it's because I've got a cold, so my nose is a bit blocked up. But I hope you enjoy this, I hope you give it a try yourselves, and I'll see you again next time. Bye!